guys, what's up? I just wanted to start off this podcast with Lockdown Universe and just say a humongous thank you to everybody who's been listening this year. We've got thousands upon thousands of listeners listening each week, and we are super excited. And I wanted to offer you guys something brand new. It's a small business partnership. So we would give you guys the opportunity to sponsor your small business with the podcast, and I'll do an advertisement for you if you're interested. We'd love to help you out. Feel free to email me at lockdownuniverse@gmail.com or send me a message on Facebook or on Instagram. We can get you started for as little as $50 and get you going, get you up right away, and you'll be able to reach thousands upon thousands of listeners throughout the year. So feel free to hit me up and we'll get you started. Now let's get to that podcast. Thank you. Welcome back to Lockdown Universe, home of the bizarre, peculiar, and unheard of stories of UFO legend and lore. Today we're going to talk about ourselves as an alien ant farm. Not the rock alternative group from the late 1990s, I guess, or early 2000s, who had the hit song "Smooth Criminal," remake, I guess I should say, and amongst others. But whether or not Earth, it's an alien ant farm, and we'll talk about examples, and we'll talk about theories, and we'll talk about what we've gleaned from alien abduction accounts. So, for starters, let's talk a little bit about what an alien ant farm really is, right? Well, it's something that us humans keep to look at, to manipulate, to change. Something that, we kind of just keep around for fun, really, right? Well, for the most part, anyway. So, there's that. The other part is, what are we doing with that ant farm? We're just looking at it. Now, what else are we doing on the planet with animals in our animal ant farm, so to speak, or our animal farm? If we want to go George Orwellian style, well, we crossbreed, right? We manipulate our animals. We manipulate our dog species to become either better bird catchers or critter catchers or attack dogs or good companions for families. We've bred them along the lines, right? Cats the same way. We've domesticated cats. Used to be cougars and mountain lions. Now they're domesticated. Well, wouldn't it be interesting if aliens all along have just kind of considered us an alien ant farm, and that we are just kind of their mere puppets to experiment on, to learn biologically from? Well, it seems to be that there's some truth to that. There may be, other reasons for their experimentations, but wouldn't it be just kind of interesting if Earth was really just kind of one of many planets of which aliens are just performing these experiments on? And just think about that in a universal aspect, just not just about Earth, but in a universe. How many planets that aliens might be doing these experiments to less civilized, less technologically advanced civilizations, right? It's 100% possible. And it's not just theory, because it's been talked about by other abductees who have stated that Earth is not the only planet that they're doing this with. Especially the insectoid species, which is one of the more ancient species and one of the more intelligent species, who apparently do work with the reptilian species as well, but apparently they have their own agendas. So I've heard somewhat conflicting stories about who answers to who, whether the reptilians answer to the insectoids, the insectoids are kind of complacent in their relationship with the reptilians because they don't want to fight them, but they're trading technology and trading information. So we have multiple races that are using us as this kind of alien ant farm. They're using us for experimentation, genetic farming, for their own species, as well as, for our own species. It seems as though through reports that there are benevolent species out there that are assisting us with our DNA to make us better, healthier, stronger, more intelligent, more advanced, more understanding, and more civilized spiritually. So that in itself is a really great thing. Whether or not, these other species have our best interests at heart is really probably a great question. But Pleiadians, the aliens that look like us, seem to have our best interests at heart. There's a few others out there. But these insectoids and these reptilians seem to not really have our best interests at heart. But when they are performing their experiments, the abductees state they really don't care about us. They really don't care about us emotionally. They are only doing what they're doing as a science-based project, and that's really it in their personal regard. Now, that's on their level, but when we're encountering these Nordic species, these Nordic-looking species, that they have a more pleasant feel to them, that they seem to be caring about us a bit more. They seem to be more receptive to, helping us as a species, helping us advance, helping us spiritually grow. And that's what's fascinating to me, because that's what we want, right? I mean, that's at least what's beneficial to us anyway. So there's that. So what other species are out there are beneficial for us? Well, Corey Good talked about another species which was beneficial for us, that he and his co-worker, his other intuitive empath, encountered in the Galactic Federation. When they encountered the Galactic Federation of 200 species, they stated that there was a few different species actually that had our best interests at heart. One species looked humanoid. They looked like they were Aztec in nature, kind of like a little bit darker skin, and their headdress looked like it was from the Aztec time period. So that's interesting. And then there was a few other species, a lioness-like species, a cat feline-looking species that apparently had our best interests at heart. They seem to be really caring and really highly knowledgeable about spiritual advancement. And there was also a blue avian, a bird-like species that was about 7 to 10 feet tall, that seemed to care about Earth and Earthians, and our process and progress through our spiritual development. There also was an orb-like species, which is really interesting. I've never really heard about this before, but an orb-like species in which seems to care about humans. They seem to be around us. They seem to be engaged with us. They seem to care about us, and they seem to be actually involved in our actual development. So, we talk about orbs with hauntings and that kind of thing, being ghosts and whatnot, but they might actually be this other species, this species of alien that seems to be caring for us in one way or another. So we have a few different species that do seem to really care, and a few species that seem to be malicious. So either way you look at it, it seems as though we've got the good and the bad, depending on who you're looking for. So going back to our main point, are we an alien ant farm? Well, if we are some sort of alien ant farm, alien, play toy experiment type thing, who's in control? I mean, it seems like we have all these different alien species that are in the Galactic Federation, but it seems like, for the most part, we've only really had a whole bunch of interaction with the Greys, with the reptilians, and with the tall gray whites, And that seems to be about it. We have limited interaction and abductee reports from the insectoids, but they're fairly plentiful. Um, but those 3, 4 species right there is really about it. So they're really going on with Earth and what's going on with um, our development and what we're doing. So um, it's it's the question of if these guys are the bad guys, you know, these guys are the ones that are really in control, and so that's kind of the scary part to me, especially since Corey Goode talked about the fact that the royal reptilian Draco, the white royal reptilian Draco, as he called it, basically said that that creature that was 14 feet tall, that he had never witnessed before. He'd seen other reptilians that were pretty tall, but he'd never really seen a white reptilian, and that 14-foot tall reptilian basically mind raped him and took whatever he wanted out of Corey Goode and his accomplice's mind, just straight out of their mind. So if that's the case, you know, these guys don't have our best interests at heart, it doesn't seem like. So we're kind of dealing with this kind of good and evil, kind of going back to like biblical times, good and evil aspect, where it's kind of human versus these reptilians, these quote unquote, if we look back through the annals of time, the annals of history, and we talk about Satan and things like that. Well, Satan really just looks like a reptilian, and if our ancestors encountered a bunch of these reptilians, and they were giving off evil vibes, right? And they were giving off malicious vibes, interest at heart. That if that's who they were describing, that would have been easy to just write into the Bible. And I'm not going to get religious or anything, but it is interesting to look at the comparisons and to see who's really out there, looking for our best interests. And we have angelic beings as well. We have beings of light and angelic beings who engage with humans on Earth. Now, the question is, are those beings of God, or are those simply alien beings? And that's what's really fascinating. When we look at ourselves as this alien ant farm and looking at, the the alien race battles that are going on over our future, we have to consider all of the different alien races who are playing a part in our development, and which seemingly are very Satan-like, devilish in nature looking, and in presentation and vibe. And then you have angelic beings, light beings, beings of a sphere, the blue sphere beings that Corey Goode talked about. So we have a wide range of these beings. But where do these angelic beings come from? That might be a good topic for a next podcast. But to keep it short, we've heard about angels interacting with humans during times of crisis. Well, maybe these times of crisis are, these very pivotal points where there's a lot of, bad things occurring because of possibly another alien presence. There could be some good versus evil going on there. And these angelic beings are seemingly pop up during times of our severe distress or severe need for assistance. And so if we really are an alien ant farm, it could be that these angels are kind of like the referees. They're kind of like, the the gatekeepers of keeping us in bounds and keeping us protected and keeping us safe during certain times from evil. But nonetheless, I wanted to keep it kind of short. Got a little tangential there, but it is interesting just as an overall concept that we could be an alien ant farm. There have been many different abductee stories, government insider discussions about this topic. We go back to like the Thomas Castellano individual who stated he worked for Area 51, where they were breeding all of these different human animal hybrids, and they called it Nightmare Hall. And, it was top secret, and he stated that the creatures that were in there, were suffering, and he didn't understand what was happening. If the government was creating these, could they have a soul? Did they understand what was going on? Did they understand what was happening? It was clear that they were in pain and suffering and sad, and there was just a horrible vibe to the entire place. So, it just goes to show you that, it doesn't have to always be the aliens that are creating the ant farm. It can also be the humans and the government creating the alien ant farm, or the human ant farm, or the hybrid ant farm. And I suppose there's different farms that we could talk about, but nonetheless, hopefully you guys enjoyed the podcast. I like to throw a few different theories out there. Next time I'll pull up a few articles and we can discuss. But wanted to get a quick podcast out there so you guys had something to listen to. Hopefully you guys are having a great day. Hopefully you're taking care of your spiritual, physical, and emotional health. Taking care of your family and your friends, and following through on your hobbies and your goals and your passions, man. Don't forget about that. And take time for yourself. And as always, continue to question the universe around you. It's a big universe, and there's lots of questions. So until next time, guys, take care, and Lockdown Universe out.